Аз съм Мартин Карбовски, вие се намирате в YouTube и Patreon канала на Мартин Карбовски. Много ми е драго да ви видя и да ви представя днешния гост. Днешния изключителен гост. При мен е негово превъзходителство господин Йоси Леви Сфари, посланик на държавата Израел. Кратка биография на негово превъзходителство. Той е учил магистърска степен политология, Еврейски университет Йерусалим. Бакалавърска степен международни отношения, Еврейски университет Йерусалим. Магистър по социални науки и управление, разрешаване на изследване на конфликти. Еврейски университет Йерусалим. Магистърска степен право, специализация по право, по право на Европейския съюз. Това е същия университет. Кратката негова биография е, че до 2006 е основател и ръководител на частна адвокатска кантора в Йерусалим с специализация в областта на младежката престъпност, гражданско право и правото на недвижими имоти. По-късно е бил в консулската служба Монтевидео, Уругвай. 2011 началник на кабинета на заместник генералния директор, отговаря за администрацията, Министерство на външните работи на държавата Израел. 2011-2014 господин Сфари е бил ръководител на посолството на Израел, временно управляващ Анкара, Турция. Отбележете. 2015-2017 началник на отдел условия на работа на служителите в чужбина към Министерство на външните работи в Израел. 2018 вече е генерален консул Истанбул, Турция. После е бил към мисията израелската към ООН до 2020. Бил и началник дирекция Латинска Америка, Министерство на външните работи. От август 23 година е посланик на държавата Израел в Република България. И изключително силна дипломатическа биография. Много се радвам, че ни гостувате. Директно към въпросите, аз съм длъжен да задам въпроса на нашата публика за отговора на Израел след събитията на 7 октомври. Беше ли прекомерен отговорът на държавата Израел, ваше превъзходителство?
No, I don't think so. The question of what is the amount of force that you are using in a military operation is related to your goals and targets and the threat that you are facing. 7 October exposed not only cruelty of the terrorist organization that we are facing, because we have to understand, we faced invasion of thousands of terrorists into our territory that killed hundreds, more than 1,200 people, burned alive, slaughtered, beheaded, raped women, and of course 251 hostages were taken. So the threat is huge for any state. But once we started our war against this terrorist organization, we discovered what a state of terror they built in Gaza. So you have to face this threat and to decide what are your goals. And the goals of Israel are very simple. Demilitarize the Gaza Strip, destroy the Hamas capabilities in means of military capabilities and administrative capabilities, and release the hostages. Now, if you launch a war, you have to follow the laws, the international laws. And one of the laws that are mentioned all the time related to Israel, which are not mentioned to any other case as if it doesn't exist, you won't hear about the meaning of proportionality when you speak about the war of the United States in Iraq, or the war of Turkey in Syria, or what's going on in Yemen, in Sudan, etc. The proportionality will be raised always when you deal with Israel. Now, let's try to understand once and for all what is the meaning of proportionality in the international law. Proportionality doesn't mean that you have to attack in the same way that you were attacked, that you have to kill exactly the same number of people, that you have to beheaded exactly the same babies, that you have to rape exactly the same women. This is not proportionality.
It's a little bit cynical.
it's a bit cynical even to think that this is a proportionality. Proportionality means that in every attack that you are making, in every one of them, you have to measure what is the civil cost, the non-involvement people that will pay the price for your attack with respect to the target that you are trying to achieve in this specific attack. Okay? Let's say that I want to kill Sinwar, the head of the terrorist organization. If there will be a civilian with him that will be killed, it will be considered probably proportionate. But if there will be 10,000 civilians that I will kill just to kill Sinwar, it's probably disproportionate. So you have to check it in every action. If you ask me, Israel is working totally in proportionality.
Какво казвате обаче на онези българи? Има доста такива, които смятат, грубо казано, Израел не прави правилните неща, не е на правилната страна.
I think they are wrong. Let's see what is the right side. We look at Europe of today, the United States. Europe is facing a huge challenge of immigrants. This challenge is, of course, a challenge of Bulgaria as well. This challenge also prevents Bulgaria from being part of Schengen. This challenge is starting from wars in the Middle East that has nothing to do with Israel. The conflict in Syria has nothing to do with Israel, but it has a lot to do with Iran. Because in the end, this war in Syria, the ability of Assad to exist today, is very much dependent on the support of Iran and Hezbollah granted him. This support made him staying in power, but also push the population to become refugees in Turkey and in the end in Europe. Afghanistan, same thing, nothing to do with Israel. Now the question is, what is the right side? If you think that Iran is the right side, that this cruel, radical Islamic regime is the right side, well, Israel is definitely not on that side. If you think that the right side is free, democratic world, we are definitely on the right side. So I believe that Bulgaria and Israel are exactly on the same page.
Каква е обаче стратегията тогава на Израел в конфликта Близки изток? Според мен, вие превземате палестинската държава.
I think that Prime Minister Netanyahu put the vision very clearly in his speech in the United Nations lately in September. And he said there are two ways to see the future. One way is to let the axis of evil prevail, and the second is to allow the cooperation and alignment of states that are looking for peaceful life to be able to maintain and establish their contact. Now, let's see what is the axis of evil. When you look at what's going on today in the Middle East, you see from the south, Yemen, okay, very horrible civil war in Yemen, the Houthis supported by Iran, with military abilities that threaten the entire world and the entire economy of the world by blocking the sea route, okay, in the Red Sea, and the consequences that Bulgaria is very much aware of. Later on, in Iraq is more and more becoming full of militias of Iran, Syria, and Lebanon, Hezbollah, and on the south of Israel, Hamas. This is the axis of evil, okay? In front of this axis of evil, you have other states. You have the United Emirates, you have Bahrain, you have Saudi, you have Egypt, you have Morocco. States that are looking for peaceful life between Israelis and the Muslim world. We are fighting the axis of evil. We are fighting it, and it is pretty difficult. We are in 7 fronts. It's not easy war at all.
7 fronts.
7 fronts. All these fronts that I mentioned, and the West Bank, 7 fronts at the same time. Now the question is, what kind of future we are going to have? If we allow this axis of evil to prevail, to win this war, you can think of the future. How will it be, and what kind of consequences it will have in Europe, in the United States? In the end, we are the first front, the first line. So this is our goal. This is what we wish to see in the future. We can dedicate all the time only to the question whether the Palestinian problem is the main issue. Palestinian problems for the Iranians is a tool only. And this, they have interest in the Palestinians, not very much, okay? But this is a good way to put pressure on Israel. About the Palestinian state, I think that we have to ask ourselves, first of all, what is the Palestinian state? We have, because it was recognized by Bulgaria, which Palestinian state? The one in Gaza, ruled by Hamas, or the one in the West Bank ruled by Abbas?
You separate these two parts.
No, we didn't separate these two parts. They separated themselves. This is a great mistake. I have to remind you. In 2005, we left Gaza Strip totally. Okay? We drew it to the international border, recognized by the UN that this is the international border. We took out of Gaza not only the live people, the Jewish live people, but also our dead bodies. Everything we took out of Gaza. Okay? And since 2005, they had all the ability to control this territory. The coup that Hamas made against the Palestinian Authority is not because of Israel. They threw their own brothers from the roofs and killed them. They kicked out the Fatah from the Gaza Strip. And this is why, by the way, why Abbas cannot enter into Gaza. Not because of us, because of him. Now, this kind of conflict, just today I read news that Hamas is trying to push Abbas to make some kind of coalition again, because for years they cannot get together. One territory is ruled by a terrorist, recognized terrorist organization, the other by the Palestinian Authority. Which state? Now, let's say a word about Gaza. You have a territory that you have a full control over it, okay? You have an international border with Egypt, with open crossing there. That was the aim of Israel in 2005 when we left. We said, okay, we are leaving this territory for you. You can build a good life in it. By the way, they have a beautiful beaches along the coast in Gaza. You can make it a Singapore. You can make really a good place to live in. By the way, Gaza, the life in Gaza weren't so bad. I mean, I invite you to look for videos in the social media that Gazan people used to publish. It wasn't so bad. But instead of investing all the money that they are receiving, okay, and they are receiving a lot of money, in the future of their own life, in reconstruction, and in building state institutions, what they build is a terror state. They built hundreds of kilometers of tunnels that weren't used for a metro train, but were used only for means of military operations. They gathered a lot of weapons. They smuggled. They had thousands of rockets, which they launched in the last year against our civilians. They built a regime that was based on autocracy, on radical Islam, that a full dictatorship over their own people. Now, if you think that everything Israel is responsible, I mean, this is a huge mistake. But what I invite you to ask yourself. When the European Union is saying that the future that they want to see is two-state solution of democratic Palestinian state living in peace side by side with Israel. How this vision meets the ideas of Hamas, their own declarations, their own goals. How? In which way? Show me one democratic state in the Middle East apart from Israel. So this is the vision, beautiful vision. How does it meet the reality?
They say that Gaza is the biggest prison in the planet.
Yeah, this is part of the fake stories that being told all the time about Gaza, and this is why I invited you, and I think that it will be very wise, if you want, to show some of the videos that the Gazans themselves published about their life before 7 October. If you want, I will send them to you.
Нека да говорим за Иран. Защо Иран е врага, а не е Саудитска Арабия? Как така се получи?
Look, first of all, we have to understand a bit about Islam. Shia and Sunni, different Islam. Since Khomeini came to power, you know that Iran wasn't an enemy of Israel. We had an embassy in Iran. We had direct flights between Israel and Iran. We had cooperation with Iran. The Iran became an enemy after the change of regime in Iran. Islamic Ayatollah, the arrival of the Ayatollah Khomeini, and his principles that the small Satan, which is Israel, relatively to the big Satan, which is the United States, should be destroyed. And there is no place for a Jewish state in the Middle East. And they are not only speaking about that, which is pure intention to commit genocide against the Jewish people. Not only they are speaking about it, they are also trying to get the abilities to achieve this goal. First of all, by building the axis of evil, as I spoke before, from Lebanon in the north to Hamas in the south and the east. And second, what they are trying to achieve, the nuclear power. Just bear in mind, radical Islamic organization will, a state that has radical organizations, terrorist organization, will have nuclear atomic bomb. I mean, just imagine the meaning of it to the world, to the free world. For us, it's not only for Israel, it's for us. I want to remind you, Hezbollah is the one who committed an attack, a terrorist attack in Bulgaria. It's the same Hezbollah. He committed this attack to celebrate another attack that he committed before that in Buenos Aires, years before, in the same day. So this is an octopus with the abilities to really influence the stability of the world. Now, do we want a state like Iran to have a nuclear power? Of course not. It's extremely dangerous. Now, why they hate us? This is an ideology that based on religion belief. The rift between the Palestinians themselves. I mean, look, there is one thing that they agree on, and this is the saddest thing, and this can be learned from the education. There is a research ongoing about the education system, education curriculum, not only in Arab states, also in Israel, how much the curriculum in schools is trying to educate children for peace.
Yeah.
And you see a huge change in the curriculum, for example, in the United Emirates. You see it even in Saudi, you see it in Morocco, you see it even in Egypt, okay? A change towards a peaceful messages. Peaceful messages, I mean, for example, not supporting the idea of jihad, not supporting the idea of killing, of acts of terrorists, Islam as a peaceful religion. Recognition of the Holocaust, speaking about the Holocaust, not presenting the Jews as ones who should be killed. At the same time, from 2014, we see a dramatic change in the curriculum of the children of the Palestinians. And the change that we are seeing is much more educating towards jihad. Israel should be eradicated.
Much more aggressive.
But aggressive in the way that you teach the child that he should sacrifice his life for the goal of eradicating the state of Israel. You know, one of the things that we were amazed is the number of Mein Kampf books of Hitler, translated into Arabic, that we saw almost in every house in Gaza. You know, I remember a discussion with my elder son that he served also during this war in Gaza. And he said in one of the houses, we saw books of children from school. And he said, okay, I don't speak Arabic, so I don't understand the books in mathematics because it's only Arabic. I have no understanding of it. But I was surprised why a book related to mathematics it has pictures of Al-Aqsa Mosque, etc. What is the relevance? Okay, but he said, I don't understand Arabic, I cannot say. But the other book was English, teaching English.
Yeah.
And the stories that they are learning, he said, I read stories. The stories are Muhammad went to study in London, and then he met another friend of him that they decided how they want to make a war against Israel, etc. I mean, the stories, the English text.
They change the stories.
No, they don't change the story. They invent stories. To teach English, you need some texts that children are reading there. But now you can speak about peaceful life. Okay, Muhammad has a dream to have peace and to meet with his friends from the Israeli side, etc. You can do it exactly the opposite. Or normal life. Okay, he's making his own work, etc. But all the texts are aiming towards it. Summer schools are aiming towards it. Playing with guns, playing, make some kind of shows in the end of the year as how they killed an Israeli soldier, how they kidnap him. This is well documented and spread all over the website, all over the web. You can find it easily. Now, with this kind of education, what kind of a generation you expect to have?
But they don't have another weapon. They have just their children. They have no technology.
I have to tell you that I think that you are very much mistaken.
Me?
Yes, and I will explain you why. We don't have a metro in Israel. The ability to construct this kind of construction in Gaza, how they did, you need a lot of knowledge. Okay? The ability to develop missiles and to launch them, you need a lot of knowledge. This population, the Palestinian population, is very capable. One of the problems that we are seeing is that instead of using their abilities to build a better future for their own people, they use it only to exercise war against Israel.
А доколко Израел е близо до разкъсване на отношенията с ООН и международната общност?
I don't know what you mean by saying break up the relations. Look, the UN, we have to remember the UN is the same organization that made the decision of the repartition of the land of Palestine into two states.
Yeah.
In 1947, just it was a different club of states. In the end, the UN is a group of states. It's an organization that states are acting there. the automatic majority in the UN is against Israel. It is clear and simple. I'm not the first one that would say that if a draft resolution will be brought to the UN that will say that the world is flat and Israel is responsible for that, it will be probably passed with a huge majority.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, we don't have really a chance to get support in the United Nations because the majority of the states are anti-Israeli for different, by the way, different interests and different positions. Some of them are having excellent relations with Israel outside of the UN, but inside the UN they say, what do you care? I mean, it's just voting. But there are things that the UN is responsible for which are extremely dangerous, and they are risking the security of the state of Israel, and they are risking the stability of in the Middle East. And I will point out two of them. The first and the most problematic one is an organization that's called UNRWA. UNRWA is the UN organization that deals with the Palestinian refugees. It was formed more or less in the 50s, in the same time that another organization was formed, which is related to the Korean refugees. The only the thing is that the Korean, after a few years, finished its work. And today, the Palestinian UNRWA organization, his definition of a refugee is the following. If you were born to a refugee, you are a refugee. So you born as a refugee. And your child will be a refugee. And your grandchild will be a refugee. And there is no end to it. It doesn't matter if you were born in Jordan, in Syria, in Lebanon, you are a refugee. What are the meaning of being a refugee? It means that you have no rights in those states because you are not a citizen. You cannot vote. You don't have a passport. Sometimes you cannot work even.
No civil rights.
No civil rights at all. And you were born in this status. You don't have an ability to choose. You were born. And the UN will take care of you. The UN will take care of your health services and education and welfare and everything. And when you ask Hamas leaders at the beginning of the war, why don't you take care of the population? I mean, don't you think about the population of Gaza? They said, this is not our responsibility. This is the responsibility of the United Nations. And they are right.
Yeah.
Because this is how it works. Now, what is the end game? What is the goal? Why it is like that?
Why?
Because in the end, the idea is that you are a refugee till you will be able to return. You will never be able to return.
Forever.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because you cannot return now. We won't accept now 5 million refugees, Palestinians, to be citizens of the state of Israel, because then the state of Israel will be diminished.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the goal. Now, who are the workers of UNRWA? The workers are Palestinians.
Or Western people.
No, only the management.
Mm-hmm.
The majority, let's say in Gaza, I think there are like 30,000 people. I mean, there are huge numbers of workers of UNRWA. The majority are Palestinians. I mean, they are actually responsible for all the civil activity. And they release the leadership of the Palestinians from taking care of these issues. If you think about Gaza, there is a list of people that we discovered showing that they are not only terrorist members of Hamas, but actively acted as terrorists against Israel. Some of them invaded into Israel on 7 October. And they are workers of a UN organization. So this organization must be defunded. It must be dismantled. This fake must be ended, because if it won't end, there is no future for the Palestinians. They cannot build a future of their own. They are doomed to be refugees
Forever.
Forever, not because they chose it. I want to tell you a story that I heard from a friend of mine, the ambassador of Israel in Azerbaijan. He's an Arab, Christian Arab, of course, citizen of Israel, ambassador of Israel. And he said, in 48, my family had to leave Jaffa. Part of my family immigrated to the United States and Canada. They assimilated there. They became citizens, equal rights. They are living normal life there. Another part of my family, my grandmother and grandfather, they decided that they will try to go back to Jaffa, and they managed to smuggle and in one way or another to become to Israel, and they were granted citizenship. And today I'm ambassador of Israel. I have equal rights in Israel. I can study, work, whatever, equal like any other citizen. By the way, I think he's a fantastic ambassador also, and extremely good friend.
Yeah.
And he said, but the heartbreaking part of the story is those among my family that were left in Syria and Lebanon. The next generations, they are living in poverty as refugees without any future. Any future. Why do they deserve it?
Because they are Palestinian? Because they are not Jewish, maybe? I don't know.
Yes, because everything Israel and the Jews are responsible for, of course. But let's assume that it's not, also you understand that it's a bit ridiculous to say it.
Yeah.
No, I will tell you why. Because for the Arab countries, since 48 till today, it was a tool to keep on the conflict with Israel. Okay? That was the way
they needed this conflict.
They needed this conflict. They didn't allow them to assimilate. By the way, some of the Palestinian refugees living in Syria were forced to run away from the Syrian regime to Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the story of the Middle East. Now, this is a very sad story, but the UN has a lot of responsibility in it.
I understand. Добре, за да завършим темата за войната. Каква е идеята на Израел? Какво трябва да се случи в конкретика, за да спре войната в Газа, а сега и в Ливан? Защото те стават две войни, два фронта.
I thank you very much for the last sentence that you say, because you said there are now two fronts.
Two fronts, yeah. Are they?
Where was the second front in the last year? You didn't notice it?
Gaza is on south, Lebanon is on north. This is
but when you say now, since when? When started the second front?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe 47.
No, in this conflict. When did it start? The second front? The north? You didn't hear about it, huh? From 8 October...
Because you're looking to hunt the leaders, and there is a second front.
But this is only the time that Israel started to respond in a harsh way. But actually the attacks from the north started on 8 October. 7 October was the invasion of Hamas. 8 October, Hezbollah starting to attack Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we evacuated all our population from the north of Israel. All the population of the north of Israel was evacuated for 1 year. They don't live there. Okay? And on a daily basis, we are attacked by missiles, drones, etc. from the Hezbollah in the north of Israel. But this is something that the world is not paying attention. And I have to tell you that as an ambassador, I was contacting the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the leaders of Bulgaria on a daily basis, as my fellow ambassadors in other states did. And we said, we wish to see a diplomatic solution, and that Hezbollah will stop its attacks from Lebanon. And nothing has been done. And we are very clear about it. We said there is a UN resolution 1701 from 2006. It has to be implemented. Again, and again and again. And what we got is ongoing shelling of rockets. Do you know the number of rockets and drones that were launched from the north of towards Israel?
How much?
10,000.
And like an answer you sent?
We definitely defend our nation. If you ask me if we respond, yes.
Yes.
And we are definitely entitled to do so, and we have the obligation to do it. Now, related to Gaza, you asked.
But how to stop this?
I'm going to answer your question. There is a simple answer. It will be shorter.
Yeah.
Look, the entire free world, the world that we belong to, the world that is important to us, our allies, Europe, United States, all of them recognize Israel's right to self-defense. Okay, so there are some discussions, some questions whether we are using excessive force, as you asked me at the beginning, whether it is according to the international law or not. We believe that it is, but there is no question about the right of Israel to defend its own people.
Okay.
And there is a right, and I will say a word about Lebanon later on, because first of all, you asked me about Gaza. What we demanded is that there will be a split between Lebanon and Gaza. And Nasrallah kept on saying almost every week, the war from Lebanon, the attacks from Hezbollah will stop only when you stop your war in Gaza. And it means that the two of them are connected. One front. Okay? And we said no, because these are two different issues. And about Gaza, the question is actually pretty simple. If you remember, I said, what are the goals of Israel? The goals of Israel in this war are pretty clear. And we stated them from first day. Hamas should be dismantled from his military and administrative capabilities, not ruling anymore the people of Gaza. They should be released from this dictatorship, authoritarian regime. Okay? This is first.
Maybe they like this authoritarian regime.
Yes, but you are not fair. It's like you will tell me that you are happy. You were happy with the communist dictatorship, or you are happy with the regime of Islam, or you are happy with other
nationalistic ideology.
What do you mean?
They own. They are Palestinians, and they.
No, I don't believe so. Nationalistic ideology is mostly Fatah, not necessarily Hamas. Hamas is religious ideology.
Yeah, I accept this. Yeah,
it's a different type of ideology. But in any case, look, let's be fair with these people. Why do we look at it in a very supremacist way? You want to be free men? You want to live in a democracy? You want to live in a place that you can express yourself freely? Why do you think that they don't want it? Why do you think that they will be happy with it? And if you think that they are happy with it, what about all the beautiful declarations that you want a Palestinian democratic state living side by side? How does it fit? I mean, you have to choose. If you think that this is the lifestyle that the Palestinians wish to have, okay, this kind of regime, so there is no way for a democratic state.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't fit. I mean, in the end, we have to decide what we believe in. And if you ask me, I think that the majority of the Palestinians, I hope for them, I'm not sure, but I hope that the majority of the Palestinians would like to have decent life. Some of them are brainwashed for years of education, for hatred. Some of them are brainwashed. We have to work on it.
But you seeking for peace?